Well, good evening and welcome to the New Mexico 109 Jarales Road Railroad Grade Separation Virtual Meeting, which is sponsored by the New Mexico Department of Transportation, or NMDOT, in cooperation with the BNSF Railway. We are going to go through a short presentation, and afterward we will receive your questions and comments. The study team will be available to respond with answers or more information. We are recording tonight's meeting, so you may view it later on the project website. Tonight's presentation will be presented in both Spanish and English. To hear the presentation in Spanish, click on the interpretation button shown on the next slide.
Buenas tardes. Bienvenido a la reunión virtual del proyecto de NM109 o CAI Jarales, separación del nivel ferroviario. El Departamento de patrocinada por el Departamento de Transporte de Nuevo México, o NMDOT, en cooperación con el ferroviario BNSF. Vamos a tener una breve presentación y posteriormente recibiremos sus preguntas y comentarios. El equipo de estudio estará disponible para responder con respuestas o más información. Estamos grabando la reunión de esta noche para que pueda verla más adelante en el sitio web del proyecto. La presentación de esta noche va a estar presentada en inglés y también en español. Para escuchar la presentación en español, haga clic en el botón de interpretación que se muestra en la siguiente diapositiva.
There are 3 steps to hear the presentation in Spanish. First, click on the interpretation button on your Zoom screen. Second, select Spanish language. And third, mute the original audio so you will only hear the Spanish version of the presentation.
Hay 3 pasos para escuchar la presentación en español. Primero, haga clic en el botón de interpretación en su pantalla Zoom. Segundo, seleccione el idioma español. Y tercero, silencia el audio original para que solo escuche la versión en español.
Let me quickly go over the meeting controls. If you are participating in the meeting live on Zoom, you can make comments or ask questions with the raise your hand function, and we will take your comments live, or you can type a question or comment using the question and answer function, and we will read your comment. If you're participating via telephone, press *9 to raise your hand. We will ask you to unmute yourself by pressing *6 after you raise your hand, and then you can ask a question or make a comment. You can also view the presentation online while on the phone, but please mute the sound to avoid an echo. You can also email questions or comments during the meeting to the email address shown here. And if you are on the phone, the address is jtaskephere-serbices.com. We will go over the controls again at the end of the presentation. Tonight's presentation will include an introduction to the project team, background information on the project location and existing operations, the purpose and need for the project, the design project and project timeline, a detailed description of the proposed improvements, the environmental analysis process, an explanation of public input opportunities, and a discussion of the next steps. We will then take questions and comments. My name is John Toshik with Ecosphere Environmental Services. We are the environmental and public involvement part of the team. With Ecosphere, Joey Herring is also here to help run the meeting. Let me introduce the other team members and participants in tonight's live panel. From the NMDOT, we have Mr. Justin Gibson, the NMDOT District 3 District Engineer, Ms. Jill Mosher, the District 3 Assistant District Engineer, and Ms. Sandra Chavez, the NMDOT Project Development Engineer. From the BNSF Railway, Ms. Lindsay Mullins, Executive Director of Government Affairs, will be available to answer questions. Wilson and Company is the Principal Consulting Engineer for the project. Mr. Edward Cordova and Ms. Kelly Heath are here to give the presentation. Valencia County and the Rio Grande Conservancy District are also important participants in the project. And if there are elected officials or agency representatives here tonight, and you would like to be recognized and say a few words after the presentation, please put your name in the Q&A during the presentation. Let me now turn it over to Sandra, who will provide some background information on the project.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. As John mentioned, my name is Sandra Chavez with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, and I'm the project development engineer for the project. If you are joining us online tonight, you can see a map of the project area on your screen. The project is located in Jarales, New Mexico, and begins approximately 1.7 miles south of New Mexico 309, East Rankin Avenue, along New Mexico 109, Jarales Road. The project is approximately 3/4 of a mile long, spanning from Camino de Cristal to just north of Trujillo Road. Jarales Road currently crosses 3 existing BNSF railway tracks at a signalized intersection. New Mexico 109 is the main north-south corridor between Belen and Jarales. On average, 90 trains per day move in both directions at this crossing. Some trains can reach nearly 2 miles long. Wait times for travelers along New Mexico 109 when a train is passing or at a stop has been reported to reach as long as 45 minutes to an hour or longer. This poses difficulties and safety concerns to surrounding residents and emergency vehicles who are waiting to cross this busy rail intersection. BNSF plans to expand the number of tracks at this location, making wait times even longer in the future. BNSF conducted a Phase A/B report determining the proposed alternative, which includes the realignment of New Mexico 109, plus or minus 70 feet east, with a new bridge over the railroad tracks. The purpose of the project is to provide a safe, uninterrupted route for Jarales Road traffic across the railroad corridor that accommodates current and future rail operations. The project is needed to address several critical conditions identified for the current crossing. These conditions include physical deficiencies, safety, travel congestion and wait time, and system connectivity. These needs are addressed with the introduction of a grade-separated intersection, which means a bridge will be built to carry New Mexico 109 over the railroad tracks. This project timeline is on an accelerated schedule. Preliminary design was completed earlier this year in April to better understand all the impacts of the project. We then completed field exploration with geotechnical investigations of the ground conditions last month. Full right-of-way acquisitions have already begun and will be ongoing through March of next year. Partial right-of-way acquisitions will begin very soon. The environmental process has been ongoing since the beginning of the year and will be wrapped up by October. We are currently working on 60% for the overall design of the project and anticipate that milestone to be completed in October of this year. Final design is scheduled to be completed by late spring or summer of 2022. Bridge construction is slated to begin late summer or fall of 2022, with the possibility of some early construction activities to begin sooner in 2022. I will now turn it over to Edward Cordova with Wilson & Company to discuss the project in further detail.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks. Move the slides over. Good evening, everybody. My name's Edward Cordova. I'm the design project engineer with Wilson and Company. I'm trying to move the slides over. There we go. So what I want you to do is follow along with me on my mouse. I'll try to show you which way south, north is and go through the whole project. As mentioned, my name is Edward Cordova with Wilson and Company. I'm the New Mexico DOT hired Wilson and Company in late 2000 to complete the final design of the Jarales Road grade separation project. In the study phase, several alignments were studied. Ultimately, alignment C was the selected alignment, which is a 70-foot offset alignment to the east of existing Jarales Road. So if you follow with my mouse, this is the south end of the project. Trujillo, where Sandra talked about, Trujillo Road is right here. We start closer to Audra Court on the south end of the project, and then proceed north. We peel off right after Audra Court off to the east and proceed to the north across the railroad tracks and come back in and tie in near Camino Cristal. What I'll do is, this was just a very high level. We have blow up views of each of these areas, and I'll talk in more detail about each of these segments of the road and the improvements. So as mentioned, we used the results of the Phase A/B report that was completed early last year. We used that to jump into design. This is the typical section that we will be proceeding forth for final design. It consists of two 12-foot driving lanes and 5-foot shoulders, which is considerably more than what is out there right now. Right now, there's two 12-foot driving lanes and minimal shoulders, maybe 1 to 2 feet at best out there right now. As we approach the bridge over the railroad, we'll have retaining wall on the west side of the road, and then we'll have embankment on the east side of the road. We're proposing a jersey concrete barrier along the retaining wall side and just metal barrier along the embankment side. Slide. So as far as the frontage roads, we'll have a couple of frontage roads. We're going to use the existing Jarales Road alignment to access the residences there, and I'll show you more detail in the upcoming slides. But what we're planning on those other roads is 2 11-foot driving lanes with 4-foot shoulders. The one exception to that is Jarales Road. We're really narrow in there right now. I bet it's probably 12 to 16 feet at best in there right now. So we're going to use 2 11-foot lanes and 2-foot shoulders on Jarales Road. So here's the blow up again. Let me orientate your Trujillo Road, Audra Court, all on the south end of the road. What we're doing is, I guess the cyan kind of bluish green color is the roadway improvements that we're planning to do. As you can see, we tie in to the existing Jarales Road, New Mexico 109 near Audra Court, and we proceed to the north and pull off the existing road. The existing roads are right back and right in here. So we pull off to the right, go up and over the railroad. So at this point around here, we're about 30 feet up in the air. The red signifies retaining walls, which Callie will get into more detail. The yellow is embankment, just a fill slope. We will have a pond to collect roadside drainage, and we will have to realign Duke Road. Duke Road was back in here, came back right here, but there's no way we'll be up in the air at this point, so we have to realign Duke Road. As far as the residences in this area right here, we're going to consider this a frontage road and tie it back into Audra Court. And we will have a turnaround back in here, so for school buses and other large vehicles can turn back around. As I said, right here's the railroad. Let me go to the next slide. So as I mentioned, we're about a little bit more than 30 feet up in the air, about right here. We go over the railroad with a 3-span bridge, about 330 foot long. Again, Callie will talk in a lot more detail regarding the specifics of the bridge. Again, we'll have a retaining wall on this side along the whole west side here, the red right here. We'll come back across over here the Sanchez Drain and tie in close to Sanchez Drain. Here's Gallegos Road right here. We're going to come back and close Lazy Lane off and cul-de-sac it. So in order to do that, and for the residences to still have proper access, we needed to come back, and Gallegos Road was pretty narrow. So we're going to go through and widen that to the 2 11-foot lanes with 2-foot shoulders. Again, we'll have a small drainage pond right here. Coming back again, we'll come back and there's a field and 1 residence right here that will come back and provide them access to the existing Jarales Road alignment, with a turnaround at the very end for school buses and any other large vehicles. So keeping going north, Sanchez Drain, Gallegos Road. We'll come back and tie back into near Camino Cristal is where we'll come back and tie into the existing alignment. So for the project, since the project's on a new alignment, we're going to need to purchase quite a bit of private property for the project. This map shows all the properties that will be affected by the project. The hatched blue areas in the are properties that are in the process of being purchased in their entirety. So we will purchase residences and their whole parcel that they have out there. This consists of about 10 acres that we're going to purchase, the blue hatch line, with about 12 residences that we're purchasing out there for this project. The reddish, I guess maroon hatched lines are properties that will need to buy a partial piece of their overall property. So we will not be buying the whole property. We'll just be buying a small segment for most part in some of these, a larger segment in this area where we need it for the embankment and the fill in the road coming through right here. So that consists about roughly about 5 acres in that. And then in the green, we will need to either have a take or an easement from BNSF to come back and put the bridge over their property right there. So we have talked to every single one of these affected landowners, either in person or virtual meetings. We're hoping to have all the right-of-way purchased late this year or early next year. But we've started on some of it. The full takes we've already started on. We'll probably start on some of the partial takes in the coming months. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Callie. We're going to change seats and she'll come right over and take over.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Heath. I'm the structural engineer on the project with Wilson & Company. This is a rendering of the new bridge structure, which carries New Mexico 109 Jarales Road over the BNSF tracks. This rendering was created from the vantage point of the existing Jarales Road, looking up into the northeast at the bridge structure. This new bridge will be 3 spans, including an abutment on each end, supporting the structure, as well as 2 piers intermediately holding up the structure. The superstructure of the bridge will be supported by steel plate girders, which will be holding up, as I said, the concrete deck. And on the concrete deck, we'll have the concrete barriers on either side and pedestrian railing fence. In this rendering, you can see the north retaining wall that Edward had talked about. As you approach the bridge structure, the wall does reach heights of about 30 feet in the air. and there will be a retaining wall on the north side and the south side of the project, both on the west side of Jarales Road. This is an elevation view of the new bridge structure. This view is what you would see if you were standing to the east of the roadway, looking up at the bridge. The bridge will span a total of 330 feet over the 3 existing tracks, as well as the future expansion of the BNSF rail lines. The abutments, which are the supports on either end of the bridge, will be concrete walls supported by steel piles, and the piers, which are the 2 interior supports of the bridge, will consist of concrete structures also supported on steel piles. This is a typical section of the new bridge, which is a view of the new Jarales roadway when you are crossing the Jarales Road Bridge. As you can see, the lanes and shoulders match the new Jarales Road typical section, which include 2 12-foot driving lanes and 2 5-foot wide shoulders. Again, you can see the concrete barriers on either side and a pedestrian fence on top of the barrier. Here you can see another plan view or overhead view of the project. This one is illustrating the area south of the south proposed retaining wall, which is shown in red. Starting at the south end of the retaining wall on the left side of the screen and moving to the north, the wall increases in height as it approaches the south end of the bridge structure. The retaining wall then turns at the bridge and will continue to the east, reducing in height to support the new earth embankment on the east side of Jarales Road. The retaining wall structure will be primarily MSE wall, which you have seen around the state and many other bridge structures. As the wall is closer to the BNSF rail lines, it changes to reinforced concrete wall type to meet BNSF requirements. Similarly, this is a plan view of the north proposed retaining wall. As you are approaching the bridge from the north to the south, the wall increases in height. It is again an MSE wall, which transitions to concrete as we get closer to the BNSF rail property. The wall turns at the abutment and continues to the east to catch the earth fill of the roadway embankment. I will now turn it back over to John to discuss the environmental portion of the project.
Thank you, Kelly. Again, I'm John Toshik with Ecosphere. Our role is to help prepare the environmental documentation for the project. The NMDOT is preparing a categorical exclusion, which is the typical level of analysis for most highway projects in the state, and includes a variety of technical and resource studies, as well as public involvement. As part of the project development process, environmental factors are considered in decision-making. A wide range of environmental factors are considered, as shown here in the slide, but only those relevant to the project are studied in detail. Key issues for this project include natural resources. There will be minor impacts to vegetation and trees, resulting in some loss of wildlife and bird nesting habitat. Pre-construction surveys for migratory bird nests will be conducted if construction cannot be scheduled outside of the nesting season, March 15th to September 15th. Some loss of farmland from the project will occur, but access for farm equipment and the use of irrigation facilities will be maintained. Disturbed, previously vegetated areas will be reseeded and planted with a seed mix after construction. For cultural resources, a full pedestrian survey of the project area was conducted and identified 3 isolated occurrences, 28 historic buildings, 3 irrigation ditches, the railroad alignment, and historic Jarales Road. The historic buildings present in the corridor were not recommended as eligible for listing on the National Register due to modifications and condition issues that impact their historic integrity. There will be extensions or modifications of irrigation ditches, but their use and function will remain intact, and the larger system will not be modified. Impacts are also not expected to the overall historic integrity of the railroad or Old Jarales Road. Pending agency review, no adverse effects to eligible properties are anticipated because their function and character defining features will be retained. For noise, we are conducting a study to evaluate future roadway noise in the residential areas surrounding the project. We expect changes in roadway noise from the higher bridge elevation, but overall noise increases are expected to be relatively low because traffic volumes and the speed limit on Jarales Road are quite low. Rail noise will likely increase from the project from the additional tracks and train operations. For community and land use impacts, the project will have beneficial effects to safety, regional mobility, and emergency services responsiveness, which is why the project has been advanced. There will, however, be impacts to local access and neighborhood character, and as described already, the project will require residential relocations and right-of-way acquisition. Related to community impacts are the project's effects on visual resources. As shown on this slide, which includes a before and after simulation of the future bridge, the bridge would be a major new element in the landscape. We've also done an analysis of shadowing created by the structure during various times of the day and year. This slide shows the shadow created by the bridge on June 21st at 7:30 p.m. and on December 21st at 8 a.m. Shadowing would diminish during midday, but would be present in the morning and afternoon. The project will have some effects on visual resources, and we want to disclose this. And we invite your input on the visual elements of the project. An important part of the project development process is public involvement and sharing project information. This slide shows how you can participate and provide input. During tonight's meeting, you can ask questions or make comments, and we will respond with answers or more information. We are recording the meeting so you can also view it later. The project website, https://nm109.nmdotprojects.org/, contains previous project reports, maps and graphics of the current design, a comment form, and other project information. You can review the recorded presentation and submit comments on the website as well. In addition to the live virtual meeting and website comment form, you can submit questions and comments via email. Again, jtashek@ecosphere-services.com, or mail to the address shown here, which is attention NM109 Railroad Grade Separation, Ecosphere Environmental Services, 320 Osuna Road Northeast, Suite C1, Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87109. We would like to have your comments by September 3rd, 2021. Thank you for your interest, and we will next take your comments and questions, but first, Joy Herring will go over how to use the Zoom controls.
Thank you, John. Let's go over the different ways that you can use your controls to make comments or ask questions. At the top or bottom of your screen, you have several buttons to use that you can provide feedback with. If you're participating in the meeting live on Zoom, you can make comments or ask questions with the raise your hand function, and we will take your comments live, or you can type a question or comment in using the question and answer function, and we will read your comments. If you are participating on the phone, press *9 to raise your hand. We will ask you to unmute yourself by pressing *6 after you've raised your hand, and you can then ask a question or make a comment. You can also view this presentation online while on the phone, but please mute the sound to avoid an echo. You can also email questions or comments during the meeting to the email address shown here, which is jtashek@ecosphere-services.com. That's jtashek@ecosphere-services.com. To get started, I'd like to introduce Justin Gibson, the NMDOT District 3 District Engineer, who would like to make a few comments.
Good evening. Thank you to all of our presenters. As previously stated, my name is Justin Gibson, and I am the NMDOT District 3 Engineer. I would like to acknowledge our elected officials that have signed in for this meeting tonight. They are Senator Greg Baca, Valencia County Commissioner David Hyder, Representative Gail Armstrong, and also a mention of our partner that is our county manager for Valencia County, Danny Namomet, is also logged in. Now I would like to thank you all from the public that have joined us in tonight's public meeting for the Jarales Bridge project. As we transition to the public comment portion, I would like you to know we are soliciting your comments. Comments received from the public and residents of the project area are conducive to the execution of a successful public works project. Now I'd like to hand the floor back over to the design staff to conduct the public comment session.
Thank you. First off, I guess, Senator Greg Baca would like to be recognized to provide a comment. Would you like to go ahead and start that now, Senator?
Sure, that would be fine.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. This is Senator Greg Baca. I just wanted to recognize some of the participants here. I wanted to recognize the contributions and the collaboration that has went on so far. I'd like to thank, first of all, City of Belen and its elected officials, City Council and Mayor. I would like to thank the Valencia County Commission for their input and their support, continued support of this project. I'd like to thank Department of Transportation, and in particular Mike Sandoval, for his continued support of this project. Early on we spoke, and he has never stopped pushing for it since I talked to him. From BNSF Burlington Northern, I'd like to thank Lindsay Mullins and her team. We have spoke so many times regarding this project, and I want to thank Burlington Northern Santa Fe for their continued investment in Belen via infrastructure, and now living up to the responsibilities by creating a bridge for the public to enhance the livability of the area that goes along with that added construction and the added traffic that may come with it. So I really appreciate that. And most of all, I'd like to thank the citizens of Jarales in particular and Valencia County, Susan Cordova and her group of advocates that have pushed for this project for a very long time. Without that constant movement, this would not be a reality. So I appreciate everybody everybody being here. I appreciate your time tonight and the continued effort towards this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And our first question comes from Brenda Martinez. Brenda, what is your question this evening or your comment? And I'm going to ask you to unmute your device. So you should be getting a message to unmute your device, Brenda. Okay, and Brenda, while you're working on that, we do have a couple of written questions that have come in. One question is from Julia Dendinger, and her question is, will there be specific pedestrian lanes in the bridge, or will foot traffic use the shoulder?
I can take that one. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Right now, the pedestrians will have a shoulder to utilize for foot traffic. There will not currently be sidewalks on the bridge, simply because there aren't any current pedestrian routes on either side of Jarales Road. So you wouldn't have anywhere to connect to, but there will be shoulders that will be wide enough for pedestrians and bicyclists to go over the bridge.
Thank you. Brenda Martinez, you still have your hand up. Can you unmute yourself now to ask your question? Okay. We have another written in question from Jean Padilla. And the question is, can you provide information in regards to the current fuel trucks contracted to provide fuel to BNSF trains per their route on Jarales Road? Also, in regards to the noise level impact.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Mullins with BNSF. Thanks so much for the opportunity to join you and greatly appreciate the continued partnership with all the folks on this panel and on this Zoom. I don't have specific information about our fuel trucks and how this project will impact their routing. Certainly, I can go back to our fuel management team and ask that question, but it has not come up to date in any discussions that I've been a part of. Secondarily, with respect to noise, I would not expect the noise level from the rail side of things to change in the near future. It should remain static is what the best I could describe it. I don't anticipate that there will be a lot of difference in noise from the at-grade crossing to the grade separated crossing. And if you want to follow up more, I'd be happy to do so with more specific detail.
This is John Toshik. Regarding the roadway noise, the elevation of the road will be a little higher, which will project traffic noise a little bit further out into the residential neighborhood. But the fact that the traffic is elevated will probably reduce noise immediately adjacent to the roadway. So we're in the process of studying that, and we're going to do a traffic forecast model, and we will have more information on that soon. But because the traffic volumes are quite low and the speed is low, we are not expecting traffic noise impacts.
Okay, and then in order to allow everyone to comment, I see Mr. Padilla has a couple more written questions, but we'd like to go back to Brenda Martinez since she had her hand up first. Brenda, I'm gonna ask you to unmute. You should have a little microphone in your menu bar, in your menu ribbon, and you just click on that and it should unmute you. If you'd like to try that again. Okay, then next we have Stephen Ferguson, if you would like to ask your question.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, will this bridge project affect our property values in a tax way for the local residents, or is this going to be spread out throughout the county?
Hey, thank you for your question. Just to be clear on what you're asking if your property values will be affected by the project. Is that correct?
Or any tax increase?
I'm not aware of any tax increase due to the project, but I guess that would be a question for the county directly.
Okay.
I don't. I'm also not a right-of-way specialist or a appraiser, so I'm sorry I don't have an answer
That's fine.
about the property values.
That's good. Yeah, no, that's fine. I have another quick question. Since you're a DOT there, what would it take to have BNSF move their traffic stop signal on that exists now on the north side of Steel Road to the south end, so they wouldn't have to have any trains block that intersection? Sometimes Jarales Road is blocked and trains are blocked at Castillo. And even if the train's long enough, it blocks the road at Mill. So if they would just move the signal to the south side and stop the trains there, which is a straight section for miles, it would certainly help the traffic congestion.
Thank you, sir. I'll turn that over to Lindsay Mullins.
Well, okay, I can only imagine that at times it's not just a train waiting and holding to get into the yard, and or there's multiple trains. The operations at Boleyn Yard are extremely complex. There's, as you saw at the beginning of the presentation, something along 90 trains a day moving through there. So I can certainly take that question and feedback to our capacity planning and operating teams and get specific response, but I'm not sure it is just that easy, though we wish it were, because it is never our intent nor our pleasure to interrupt a community, and which is part of our commitment to this project, hoping that by providing a grade separated path across, that we can have certainty for residents in a place where they can traverse and not be interrupted in their motoring travels.
Well, it's mainly just trains that stop that are northbound at that signal that stops the train. They've got a green, yellow, red signal there. If they would move that signal to make this train stop on the south side of the intersection, there would never be a problem with anything being blocked there. I live on Duke Road, by the way. I can't wait for the bridge to be completed. The noise that with the train whistles are incredible.
Well, would you please repeat the location of the signal that you would like to be relocated, so I can pass that feedback to the powers that be?
Correct. The existing signal now for stopping the trains from entering the yard is on the north side of Castillo Road. If they could relocate that signal to the south side of the intersection and stop the trains there, that would solve the issue of that intersection ever being blocked by a train.
I've captured that and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next question is from Mr. Gene Padilla. Has a review of farming equipment that will be traveling on the bridge, for example, tractor with cutting implements that are at 16 feet that will be traveling on the bridge. Will there be any blind spots that can impact the safety of both sides of the roadway?
I'll go ahead and take that one. So yeah, yes, we went through and looked. Right now, we're looking at a 5% grade going up and over the railroad. We do design the road for a certain design speed, and we look at sight distance since we're going to realign Duke Road and realign, I guess, kind of realign Gallegos Road. We did do sight distance calculations to make sure that there is adequate sight distance for people coming up and over the bridge, coming down into Gallegos Road, towards Gallegos Road, down towards Duke Road, to make sure that there's plenty of room for stops and for people to enter onto the roadway.
Okay, thank you. And then Benny Padilla also has a question, which is related to survey. Why did I not get a response if the road in front of my house will be affected?
So as of right now, we've contacted folks whose property is being affected directly, as if we're purchasing right of way or we're purchasing a partial piece of their property. Right now, if you have concerns about the roadway in front of your property, please send an email to John Tashik or myself. You can contact me at sandra.chavez@state.nm.us. And we'll be happy to give you a call and directly talk to you about how your property is being affected.
Thank you. And then we have Fernando Darkengelli. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but he has his hand up. If you would like to go ahead and ask your question. And you'll just need to unmute yourself. And what is your question, sir?
Seems like we're having some technical difficulties with video. If you are able to, can you type your question into the question and answer box? If you have access to that feature. If not, we'll try to circle back around and see if we can get your audio working.
Yes, and you do seem to be unmuted. We just can't hear you. We're turning back to our written questions. We have a question from Beatrice Ahola. How much property will be taken from Camino de Crystal on the east side going south?
So I don't believe we'll be taking any property off of Camino de Crystal at this point.
Okay, and Mr. Pickett has his hand up, Mr. Eugene Pickett. If you would like to give your comment, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Very well.
That's good. I think that this is a tremendous and positive step, and Mr. Representative Baca, Senator Baca, noted all of the individuals. I just have a very positive comment and then a question. Positive comment is that this will impact the whole area. You know, even those of us that are over on South Highway 116, when we were flooded out, the only access point was coming around that backside. So if there are emergencies, I mean, this is going to be a tremendous step in that direction as well. One of our constituents in the area, Willie Walker, you know, who's been in contact with me over the period of time, he lives right there, I mean, like at the railroad track as you cross over currently. You mentioned residential relocations. Have you been in contact with the Walkers?
Thank you for your comments, sir. And yes, we have definitely been working in close contact with the Walkers and all the other affected property owners who are being relocated. And we're definitely in close contact with them and helping them with their relocations.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, you know, one last comment, because
Sure.
it's very noticeable, you know, because of the work that I do, I have to be on Zoom most of the period of the day, but it was highly noticeable, you know, the technical aspects of internet access, you know, in the rural communities is probably why a number of people haven't been able to get on or are having technical problems now. You know, it's just that technical aspect of how you access the systems. So I think that there's far more support than what may have been indicated online at this point, and far more interest, you know. And yes, we are COVID sensitive, but at the same time, just be aware that, you know, the technical challenges in the rural areas is very apparent.
Thank you, sir. We do understand that a lot of folks have challenges to connect to virtual meetings such as this. And we do want to make sure everyone stays safe right now during COVID. And so we do try to make it as easy as possible for everyone to join. We do have call-in numbers that hopefully everyone took advantage of if they weren't able to join online with us. After this meeting, this is being recorded and will be available at a later date for anyone who wishes to watch the video again, and they can submit any questions or comments to any of us no later than September 3rd. So if you know of anyone who wasn't able to attend, please feel free to pass that information on to them.
Yes, ma'am. Well, wonderful job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next question is from Jesse Sanchez. Will the construction sequence start with the improvements on Gallegos Road to allow access to residents on Lazy Lane before it's closed off?
I'll go ahead and take that one. Thanks, Mr. Sanchez, for joining our public meeting. It was nice talking to you on the phone a couple of days ago. Yes, I took your comments back to the design team. And yes, we will definitely consider building Gallegos Road before it closes Lazy Lane. Yeah, we do need to widen Gallegos Road so all the residents along the Lazy Lane could have access there. Same being said for Duke Road, that we'll need to come back and realign Duke Road prior to closing off and building the new alignment of Jarales going up and over the railroad tracks.
Thank you. And then Mr. Stephen Ferguson has his hand raised. And so if you will unmute yourself and ask your question, that would be great.
Okay. My next question is, on previous maps of the project, it showed that the drainage pond on the south side of the tracks was closer to the tracks. And now I see on this new map, it's actually going to be located in front of Duke Road. The original map, it showed it past the cul-de-sac turnaround. And when that is in operation, how much water do they anticipate going to be filling that, and how long they expect it to sit there? Or is that going to turn into a mosquito pond?
I'll go ahead and take that one. Hello, Mr. Ferguson. Thanks for your question. Yeah, when we originally talked with you over the Zoom call, we did have it in another location. But looking through the whole project, we wanted to minimize our right-of-way footprint there. So we were already purchasing these properties for the new alignment. And we had some leftover property in between Duke Road and the new Jarales Road alignment. And we moved the pond over to there to capture just some roadway flows, some new flows that will come off of the new roadway alignment. The pond isn't very deep. We're trying to minimize the pond size. It'll only be about 3.5 feet deep at the deepest point. We're thinking that with the percolation rates that we got from our geotech study, we think that it'll drain within a day. So hopefully hopefully there will be no mosquitoes. A couple other residents had raised the same question when we talked to them on the property owner review. So we took that back to us, and we came back and we wanted to minimize the depth of these ponds so they could drain pretty quick.
One other question is, who's going to be responsible for keeping the properties clear of weeds since BNSF is going to take over the property?
I don't know if that has been totally decided. It'll either be New Mexico DOT or Valencia County, but I don't think that's been decided at this point.
Okay, because the weeds this year have just gone crazy, and they get to be 5 or 6 feet tall. So it's something that probably needs to be looked at.
I could only imagine with all the rain that you guys have got down there this year.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost looks like a forest some places.
We'll definitely
Thank you.
write that comment down and get that taken care of.
Mhm.
Thank you. And then our next question is from Jean Padilla. In regards to the traffic study, has it been reviewed as to the increase of fuel trucks carrying fuel to the BNSF rail lines?
I think I can sort of answer also Helen Walton's question along with this one semi-simultaneously, though we can certainly revisit it if I don't cover everything. I think a lot of these questions with respect to additional fuel trucks and additional tracks are certainly well taken. Since we started this process of building and planning this project, quite a lot has happened in our country, and our company has not been immune from the effects of the pandemic. Last year, as the pandemic hit, we saw our business decline quite sharply and rapidly. And it has led to a lot of changes internally. And we've certainly paused a lot of planned projects and are taking stock of all of the supply chain challenges that I know that we are all experiencing as consumers and reading about in the news. So there's quite a lot for us to manage right now. Therefore, we don't have a date certain for expanding our yard at Belen, and we don't foresee fueling operations greater than they are today in the near term. Certainly, BNSF is 170, yes, not 7, but 70, 170-year-old company with all of its predecessor railroads, and we've come a long way in that time. I'm not saying that there will never be an expansion at this location, that there won't be additional fueling done, because from single track mainline to now triple track, we've come a long way and will continue to endeavor to grow alongside your community. But for today, there is not a construction plan in place. There's not a timeline. There's not an expansion that we can speak to, though we certainly are looking at the future and planning ahead. And that project is on pause, but probably, not completely off the table. I can't sit and say to you today, it'll never happen. But I think concerns about additional fuel trucks congesting things, you can rest assured that that's not in the near term, and as well as additional tracks. I hope that answered you all's questions. And if there's follow-up, please do put it in the question and answer, or just raise your hand. I'm happy to speak to that further.
Thank you. Benny Padilla has several different questions. The first is, when will I need to be vacated? Date. And then he also has a question about, I have not received any information about the payout of my land. When will that be sent out?
I'll go ahead and take that. So, Mr. Padilla, we've talked with, I believe, most of the affected property owners. If we have not talked to you, I do not think that we'll be needing any of your property. But if you want to give us a comment and write your name and address and a phone number, I'll look it up and I'll give you a call back in the next few days. And I'd be happy to go out there and visit with you on your property and how the project affects your property.
And he also had a follow-up question of, is a county commissioner involved with this project?
I'll defer to somebody at the New Mexico DOT or.
Thanks, Ed. The question as to is this involve the county commission? They are a partner and a stakeholder. The project, as it advances, is going through phase 1A. The study phase went through BNSF. The project was then handed off for phase 2 and phase 3, which would be to come up with the design and ultimately oversee the construction, would be handled through the NMDOT, through the District 3 office, and facilitated through our consultant, which is Wilson & Company. So hopefully that kind of answers the question. The county commission is definitely a stakeholder and a partner with NMDOT, but it is not being facilitated as a county project.
And I'd like to circle back around to Fernando Darkingeli. You've had your hand up, and I will ask you to unmute to see what your response is. If you can unmute yourself. Okay, well, we'll go back to some of our written in questions. J Dub asked, you gave an estimated start time of late summer, early fall 2022 for construction. What is the expected length of time until completion?
Thank you for your question. So yes, we do anticipate late fall for construction to begin of 2022. We also anticipate at least 2 seasons for construction of the project. Building over the railroad is very challenging because BNSF does still need to keep their trains moving. So that does pose special challenges for construction. So those will be taken into account and have to be planned for. So we do anticipate between a year and 2 years for construction. We don't have an exact time frame yet.
And then Michael Lovato asks, will Jarales Road stay open during bridge construction?
No, Jarales Road will be closed once the track expansion project is ready and the Jarales Road project is ready to be constructed. That intersection will be closed during the duration of construction of the bridge.
And it looks like Mr. Fernando Darkengelli is unmuted. Would you like to give your comment now? Sir? Well, let's see, you have your hand up again and you're unmuted. A little bit of technical difficulty here as well. If possible, if you could maybe type your question in this evening. But you should be able to speak at this point. Okay. Going back to some of our written questions here. This is from County Commissioner David Hyder. Can you explain detours during construction?
I'll go ahead and take that. Thank you for the comment. Right now we're at about, I'd say we're working our way towards 60% design. Right now we're working our way through developing detour plans. Right now we have had some preliminary conversations with the county, and they do have some concerns of larger vehicles using Castillo or Mill Road. So right now we're looking at probably a pretty long detour, using New Mexico 346 to the south, and on the north, Rankin, New Mexico 309. Right now, that's the way that we're looking at possibly signing it. That doesn't mean that I guess residents or locals won't use Mill or Castillo. We can't keep them from not using that, but that's the way that we're going to probably sign the road. So I think that answers that question. And then Mrs. Benavides's question too. Yeah, so we will submit a traffic control for the county Valencia County to review at 60% plans.
Okay, thank you. And then Anthony Maestas has a question. The concrete barriers on the River Road Bridge block the view of the river while crossing. Is it possible to consider using a metal barrier to increase the view of the land?
For your question, yes, this actually came up this past week in discussions with our environmental folks, and it is definitely something that we are considering to use an open metal barrier. We just need to ensure that we conform to the BNSF requirements for pedestrian railing. We do want to make sure it's safe going over the railroad. But we are definitely looking into an alternative to the concrete barrier over the bridge.
Okay, and Mr. Ferguson has his hand up and would like to ask a question.
Yes, my question concerns when they start constructing the retaining wall on the south side. Is that going to initiate closing Jarales Road? And if that does, are the trains still going to be required to blow their horns when that road is closed?
If my audio cut out for a second, I know, Lindsay, you have the second portion of that question. I missed the first portion of that.
Am I still on? Yes,
Yes.
when the construction starts on the south side, the retaining wall that goes down the middle of Jarales Road. So are they going to close the intersection across the tracks at that time? And if they do close it, does that mean the trains won't have to blow their horns anymore?
So we will be closing that intersection once construction begins, yes. As for the horn question, I'll turn that over to Lindsay.
In theory, yes. Certainly, our horn blowing is governed by the FRA. And so there are many factors that go into a reason why a train operator would need to blow a horn. Certainly, they need to do so when there's a safety reason to do so, if they see something or need to issue a warning. But I would assume that, yes, once there's not a crossing, then at least at that particular spot, you no longer need to sound the warning device. That said, if crossings are tight, sort of closely spaced there, you may still hear a train horn because there's another crossing. So there is a federal program or method to designate quiet zones. And you know, that can be a way to eliminate train noise in a more corridor approach, but a proximity to a yard like the one in Berlin, I'm afraid there will be some train noise. So, but I hope that was helpful.
It should be reduced at least. Thank you.
Let's hope so. I'm gonna come from a place of yes on that.
Okay, thank you.
So just a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question or give a comment, you can use the raise your hand button, or you can type your question into the Q&A. We still have one question here. Will the tax zone be changed into an industrial area?
So I am not aware of the tax zone changing due to the project. I don't know for sure. I can try to look into it and we can get back to you with an answer to that question. If you leave your contact information, if you can send it to the email on the screen, we can get back to you with that.
I have an email here that I could, I got a few minutes ago that I could read. This is from Ignacio Gallegos. I am a homeowner who has property to the north side of Gallegos Road, which is slated to be partially reduced. This is a question for BNSF. Is the BNSF Phase A/B study available for public view? Is this presentation available? Also, concerning the expansion of the BNSF rail lines and depot, are there plans available to view? Finally, concerning noise, the idling of trains creates a low hum and shaking. While the noise from train horns will be reduced, I worry that the increased ambient noise will be increased. Are noise mitigation efforts in the plans? Well, I can answer part of that. The presentation will be available on the website, which has been shown several times here tonight. And the Phase A/B study for the road is also available on the project website. The other questions I'll leave to Lindsay or others.
Sure. So the trains are already there and idling. I don't think that anything about closing the crossing, grade separating the roadway, anything about this project changes anything to do with trains idling at Berlin Yard. So I think you should expect things to remain static and as they are today in terms of idling noise and any ambient noise that's associated with our rail operations.
As for the Phase A/B study, I do have possession of that study and have been given permission to share it. So if you provide your contact information, which I believe John has, we can provide a copy of that Phase A/B report to you. John, can you please reread any questions that we missed from that email?
I think we got it all. Let me just double check here.
I believe we
Are
can.
there plans available for BNSF rail lines and depot expansions? I don't know if we answered that, but I think we got everything else in that question.
Plans available for our rail lines or our expansion. So there are not plans available for our expansion at Boleyn Yard. I talked a little bit about that earlier. It's still very much in an uncertain place because of the past year. And we do have railroad maps. So there are maps of our rail lines. But if you mean additional tracks associated with an expansion, no, there are not plans available for that.
And we do have another question in regards to the concrete design. Can you consider incorporating a decorative concrete design similar to the NMDOT bridge with I-25 in Los Lunas, or similar to Albuquerque I-40 decorative community design?
Take that one. Yeah, we're still looking through our options as far as the aesthetics of the bridge. So we will take a look at that. And any other comments that you have, we'll record those and include them for consideration.
Well, those are all the questions that we have so far. If anyone would still like to ask a question or provide a comment, you can use the raise your hand button to raise your hand to give a.
I have a follow-up from Mr. Gallegos. He says, concerning the ambient noise, it is not the noise from the yard that I'm concerned with. It's the noise of trains idling as they wait to cross the river bridge or as they wait to enter the yard. The trains just idle to the east of the current Jarales crossing.
Okay, I'm thinking about what I just heard you say, John.
You want me to read it again?
No,
Yeah.
I mean, the geography, I take the comment and I will certainly note it in my comments list for follow-up and for sharing within our company. I'm not sure what we can do. I do understand the concern certainly, but we have plenty of regulations for the safety of our equipment as it's traversing our right of way. To include as we idle, we have to, I mean, as we wait, we must idle so that the brakes can remain full of air and safe to operate. So I understand and I will definitely pass it along, but I do anticipate there is a rattle certainly when our trains are idling, and I do understand that could be an issue with the changes.
I just wanted to make sure we got clear response on the question of the availability of the Phase A/B study. That is for the highway part of the project. That is available on the website. And again, that's https://NM109 NMDOT and the study is available now.
Mr. Monette, did you want to give a comment, or ask a question? You should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know that Valencia County continues to be a partner in this system. We are not, very heavily involved, but we do want to help orchestrate these meetings and keep the public informed. If there's property value issues, we'd like to help answer those. Mosquitoes, would be happy to address that issue, but we just want to be a partner in the project, and we appreciate this meeting and look forward to this continued dialogue.
Thank you so much for your comments. We also look forward to working with you to make this project a success for the community.
And Mr. Ferguson has his hand up to ask a question or give a comment.
Yes, I would like to thank this whole organization for tonight, all the people contributing. It's very informative and it allows you to blow off some steam in my case about the noise. But I do have one question for BNSF, Lindsay. I live right next to the tracks here at Jarales, and there are many times when trains leaving the yard and some entering the yard where the engineers are playing toot toot on their horns. And I've measured 120 decibels at my patio. So if there's anything or a complaint number I can get that when these things do occur, it's cut down quite a bit this last year, but it still goes on. I don't know what the ramifications are against the drivers for noise complaints when they're only supposed to be doing the FRA signal there. 2 longs, a short and a long, but many times it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning where they'll blast the horns 10 or 15 times playing with each other.
Okay, that's extremely frustrating. But one thing that I really love about all of you that live in this area is how much you know about railroading. Would you please give me your email address and let me write you directly?
Sure.
You want to?
Okay, yeah.
Or a phone number, or if you want to go through the DOT and have us connected, whatever you're most comfortable with in this public forum. I don't want to put you on the spot, but you could certainly email the John Tashik email address there, and he could connect us, whatever is most comfortable, sir. But I definitely will be following up on that because we want everybody to be professional, especially in the middle of the night.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I'll go ahead and email Mr. Tasser. Thank you.
Thank you. John Tashek, do we have any other email questions?
No, I don't. Not at this point.
Well, we still have some time left if anyone would like to ask a question or give a comment, get more information about the project or the project design. If you would like to raise your hand, you can use that hand button, or you can go ahead and type in your question into the Q&A and we'll read those aloud to get those answered. And then did NMDOT have anything else that they would like to add this evening that might help educate the folks that are on the call?
Well, I just wanted to say we've had some really good questions here tonight, and we'll continue to take comments until September 3rd, and then we'll put a meeting summary together that has the questions and the responses, and in a few cases it seems like we need to flesh out the responses a little bit and do some research. But we'll put the summary with comments and responses on the website, and those will be available for everybody to take a look at and review.
I guess I'd like to echo that, John. Thanks for our participation or your participation. We got some really good questions, comments. Mr. Padilla, I did get your information down. I will give you a call tomorrow. I apologize in advance if for some reason we missed you and didn't make contact with you early on, but I will call you tomorrow. So look forward to talking to you tomorrow.
I'd like to also thank everyone for joining us tonight. Your questions and comments are important to us, and we definitely want your feedback. So if you think of any questions or comments, definitely send us an email or give us a phone call. And we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And thank you for your participation. We definitely want to make this a pleasurable experience and a successful project for your community. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and have a good evening.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and can stay on for a minute or two and just in case something comes in, but thanks everybody, and we look forward to working more with you.